Hello, uh, my name is Dr. Gad Lavy, and I'm the medical director of the New England Fertility Institute. We're located in Stamford, Connecticut. The video that you're about to see features a same sex female couple who came to us trying to basically fulfill their dream of starting a family. And their idea of family was that one partner will provide her eggs and the other partner will carry the pregnancy. So we call that process reciprocal IVF. And it's a process that's a little complex, but not very difficult to perform. And we will hear a little bit more about what brought them to it and how they felt through the process. But we also became aware through them that there's really not that much out there about this process and explaining, what is required and how easy or difficult it is. If this is something that you're thinking about or something you'd like to get more information on, please visit our website. I would be delighted to schedule an appointment and explain a little bit more.
So, so here we are, and I just wanted to sort of again maybe hear your perspective on the whole thing, and how you even thought about trying this kind of way to grow your family, and deciding whose eggs you're going to use and who's going to carry. So start with that. Just give me sort of your version.
General idea.
Background.
Yeah, so we always knew we wanted to have kids and obviously knew we were going to have to come up with some sort of solution for that, given the circumstances of being two moms. And we actually had, when we first started looking, discussed, even going to our donor, like using an anonymous donor at a sperm bank. We had said, if the possibility of having a known donor ever, came up, that it would be something that we would definitely want to consider as well, for a myriad of reasons, which if you want me to get into, I can, but mostly just like being able for her to have that connection. And then it actually kind of fell into our laps. We had Erica's parents went to college with another family that they've been friends with for 40 years. Their son, their middle son, was about the same age as us, passed away from brain cancer in 2018. And after he had passed away, before going through his cancer treatments, had saved some of his sperm in case the radiation made it so he couldn't have kids of his own. And so they asked if we would consider want to use him as our donor, and it was like a perfect scenario for us. That's you. So that was the decision that we made, knowing that we were going to use him as our donor. But because he wasn't like a specific sperm donor and he didn't like donate it to us, we had a lot of hurdles with that. So that's actually, we're really grateful for NFI. You're the third clinic we went to. And we it was like a 3-year process really, from kind of starting to getting her.
Yeah, that just education or researching options and researching clinics. And
so yeah, we had started with the clinic here in Colorado in March, and it took forever for them to say goodbye, Brinley. It had, by December, so 3 days before Christmas, they called us and said we couldn't use him as our donor because he hadn't had like 2 tests that they kind of like a big box, like don't really want to look into the intricacies of things. I just wanted to I think get people in and out. So they told us right before Christmas that we couldn't use him. We were obviously crushed because this had been like an entire process. We had to get a court order to be able to use his sperm. There was like a whole lot that happened before we could even consider that, and then to be told no. So one of Erica's mom's friends who lived on the East Coast had talked to someone that she knew, a reproductive lawyer, I think, and said, check out NFI. Deborah called us on the 28th of December. Our first call with her was, and that was the day we were admitted to the hospital to have Brinley. So
A year later.
a year later, like we weren't sure even when we were going to have that call, if you were going to like help us like figure out how to do it. And then you're like, oh, we'll take you on as patients. And we're like,
Yes, let's
sweet.
do it.
Okay, let's do it. So we love you guys, because even today when I spoke with Deborah, we can call and say, hey, this is Brittany and Erica, and she'll go, hey girls, how's Brinley doing? Like she knows us. We monitored with another clinic here, and I don't think anyone ever like recognized me, even when I was going a couple times a week
Just
for
another person.
ultrasounds and blood work. So just the personalization and just the fact that you had no hesitation to like do what we needed to do for our family was awesome.
And did you discuss us choosing reciprocal IVF or no?
Oh no, I didn't.
Okay. So
Well,
I
I
can
just wanted to say that, first of all, I thought, when I first spoke to you, I was, a little bit overwhelmed with the story, because it's a beautiful story. And, I, of course, and you put so much effort, and it's so important for you. So I guess it's really just trying to find a way to do it, because it's definitely doable. It's not, I mean, obviously it's doable, but it's legal. It's not, we're not doing anything illegal. Or,
Right. Yeah. I think it's just more that you, because you specialize or do so much with surrogacy compared to like other clinics, that like you knew what to do. They just didn't want to even like, I think they didn't want to take the time to like even do whatever it was. So,
and I think that also just goes to show like everything worked out exactly as it should, but we just, from the moment that we connected with Deborah until today, and moving forward with like our future child or children, like we have always just felt so cared for by you. And we have like such beautiful memories of like, every step of the way. Like Britt will always remember when we left the room for the transfer, you like took a minute to like really like hold Brittany's hand, and what did he say? Like good luck, or like this is gonna be great, or like just some like positive word, and like just it's just really, really heartwarming. And I think from the minute that we knew that we were gonna move forward with using you as our clinic, like we just never had any doubt that it would be successful, which was like obviously every parent's hope. So, but I did want to touch too on I think we
also before reciprocal, in speaking to like our story, we actually just got back from the East Coast yesterday. So his family is all in New Jersey, and she met so many people this week that like knew him, and it was like such an emotional week, because it was like so fun for his family and friends to get to see a little piece of him. So that was also really cool too.
You did the right thing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just, and there was a lot to it, right? Like we're living in Colorado and we had to go out to Connecticut, and obviously like it's a very expensive process. So there's like a lot of stresses that go with like logistics, right? But it's really just logistics at the end of the day. Like it's so important to us that we have that connection with like the third part of our family that created Brinley and her siblings. So but I think we had always once we had learned about reciprocal IVF, and I'm so glad that you're doing these conversations, because when we were thinking about wanting to start a family, we heard about people, and there's actually like a fair number of people who are like on social media that we follow, but like we don't know them. But there's not a lot of information out there about how to create your family, especially like if you're a queer family, or if you're just outside of the traditional like man, woman, whatever. So once we had heard about reciprocal IVF, we're like, well, actually this is like a perfect blend of the two of us being involved in this, right? And I had always kind of felt a little bit more like I really wanted to be the mom who carried. So it just kind of worked out like that we could both really be involved in the process. And it's really awesome because now people like, I don't know, like obviously everyone can choose, like there's so many options of how to create your family, but it's really awesome that like people know that I carried her, but then she looks like Brittany or she like has that side, you know, like it's just a really beautiful mix of like both of our
I
family.
think that's also part of part of your story that I think it's beautiful.
Yeah.
And you're absolutely right that, you know, we do actually mostly just surrogacy and egg donation. So that's sort of our thing.
Mhm.
We work a lot with gay men
Mhm.
because obviously for them, they need a donor and a surrogate, but there's not really that much because so for gay women, uh, typically they would do pick an egg donor, do an insemination.
Right.
But so this option is, I don't think you're right. I don't think a lot of people actually are aware that this option exists, and it definitely allows. There's I think, you know, again looking at from the outside, it creates more of a bond in the
Right.
in the family, right? Because it's Brittany's genetics, and so it's, you know, it's and Erica is carrying, and there's a lot of studies really about the effect of the environment in which the baby grows on the characteristics.
Mm.
So it's not just the genetics,
Right.
Mhm.
but it's what's called epigenetics. It's things that, you know, the environment you grow in that affect your, we don't really know exactly how and why, and exactly what, but it's definitely clear that there's some impact on the environment and how the baby turns out.
Right.
So I thought that was a really nice, and you know, I was so happy that we're able to do it because again, as you said, it's the logistics are a little bit complicated.
Yeah.
You're there and we're here and we had to figure out the sperm and all of that. But again, it's not really that complicated at the end. You
Right.
just follow sort of step by step. Um, and you know, fortunately, I think at the end we were of course lucky that it worked so quickly. Well,
It was nice too because we could split the workload, so to speak,
Yes.
especially on, you know, the first thing is I did the ministry role and I was recovering from that, and then you know, like, or you know, just going through that, and then Erica, it was her turn, so we could kind of
share
not
the
I know people that do them like right after each other, then obviously you're pregnant and then you give birth and then you're like recovering from birth for a long time. So it's like, wow, that's a lot. So kudos to those people.
yeah.
It also was like really great once we
Sure.
learned that there was such a history of you using surrogacy. Sorry, this is her brother's dog. She likes to be in on the
your baby, you're babysitting.
So that you really understood the logistics of reciprocal IVF, because the first clinic that we connected with here in Colorado, we had to tell them what reciprocal IVF was, or at least one nurse that we spoke to. And I was like, okay, like you're supposed to be the one that tells me what to do. So it was just like really comforting to go into a process where like you knew all of the steps and it was just like very spelled out, and obviously built up our confidence to know that everything was going to be go smoothly.
Just if you can sort of very briefly sort of tell your experiences from being basically, you know, going through the IVF and going through the embryo transfer.
Yeah,
How did it feel like emotionally, physically?
Sure, absolutely. It's pretty amazing. Brittany said that it was exactly a year from connecting with Deborah to her being, you know, us being admitted to the hospital. So I feel like that's pretty unique. Like obviously she came early, so her gestation was shorter, but still, that's like pretty miraculous. So yeah, so we started with a conversation with you in January, and I think originally, you know, all those logistics were like, oh my gosh, do we really want to do this? And it just felt so right to us. It was like from the and we always had positivity that like this is the right thing to do. And then we also got a bonus that we could like visit family when we were out there for those 2
Yeah,
trips.
I think that helps, exactly.
Exactly. So, and our case obviously was unique because we're here, so we had to be monitored. So I don't know if you want to speak to like the egg retrieval first.
Yeah,
and
just about the whole thing, the medications,
the
the,
whole-
Yeah, I mean, so I actually, it's funny because I used to be afraid of needles.
then- yes,
Like
that
I
changed.
didn't like it.
you got cured of
but
that.
You get pretty good. And actually, it's like I feel like when you're doing it, knowing what the outcome is, it makes it a lot easier.
Mhm.
You know, if you're going through it for something else, I don't know. It just felt like part of parenthood,
Right.
almost like this is what I need to do. But we had we had times where we had to call, the nurse, like, did we do this right? And everyone was like, it's gonna be fine. I was like, no, did I ruin it? Like there's one time, like I did one of my follow stim injections and I looked and there was still some left in the thing and I was like, I don't know if I did it right or didn't do it right. And they're like, it's gonna be fine. You're gonna be fine. So just like knowing that we have that support. And I remember the day of the egg retrieval, I was sitting on the couch like this in your office and you're like, you're a little uncomfortable, aren't you?
Oh, I
Like,
remember that.
I'm like
Yeah.
driving on the roads of Stanford and they're like bumping
Hitting the bumps.
and I'm trying so hard to
Like,
drive like
memories.
so carefully. I'm like, oh God.
So what side effects did you have with the meds? With the
I don't think I really felt anything other than like I could feel like I think the pressure in my abdominal area from like the size of my ovaries.
ovaries, yeah.
was, like,
It felt like they were
like being
huge,
like
'cause they
yeah. Just felt like compression, I guess, but it wasn't like painful, it was just uncomfortable.
Mhm.
But then after the procedure was done, it was fine.
And no like emotional, like, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I had too many emotional dynamics, but
I didn't
She
remember.
No,
might.
we usually ask the partner, not you.
yeah.
Sure.
No,
No,
I think both
I
of
really-
us
she did
throughout
so
both of the
fantastic.
processes
Yeah.
where it was pretty good. I think it was like emotional in knowing like almost like joy more than anything. And obviously
Yes.
some fear because there's always like a risk like if it in the back of your mind, I really hope this works, but
Right.
knowing that it's not a sure thing.
Yeah,
I think we didn't dwell on that too much, which I
Yeah.
think like again, your clinic is you never gave us a reason to doubt that it would work. And I think I truly believe that all of that positivity did actually aid in the success because we weren't as stressed as maybe we might have been if
Right.
we didn't feel so comfortable.
right. And so the egg retrieval was all right. He didn't really have any.
Yeah,
Like,
everything was fine. I remember I woke up because you had said maybe we would have somewhere, 15 to 20, and I had 11 eggs because some of the like the cells, the follicles were empty.
right.
And I was like so sad because you had said 11, and
She
I
was
feel
so
guilty
sad
saying
when
that
she
because I know
told
other
me.
people don't even get that, but I didn't know like are they even going to be good quality? I was so nervous. But then they all ended up being mature, which we were really lucky about. So I think there was like a moment, but after the 5 days we got our numbers, like I felt obviously better about it.
And I think we told ourselves like considering how many children we were hoping to have and maybe needing to do more than one transfer until we have success, like a successful pregnancy, we were comfortable with 5 and we got 7. So that was like the perfect scenario. And
Yeah.
also like goes to show that that's really fantastic because we've heard of other couples who have gone through IVF and they've started with this number of eggs and then it decreases and they don't really end up with many viable embryos at the end. So it's like pretty amazing that out of the eggs that we had that we ended up with the numbers that we had.
In some ways we feel kind of guilty because we have friends that are also in like a similar scenario and like it's been more of a struggle. Like we realize how lucky we are that things really were as smooth as they were.
Yeah, well, I mean, the thing is, of course, it's with these things, it's so hard to compare notes.
Mhm.
because everyone is different, right? Every case is
Right.
different, everyone is different. So yeah, so you have people that have, no normal embryos
Right.
and have to deal with it. But usually, I mean, if you look at the person's profile, right, beforehand, your age and your hormone levels and all of that, it's pretty good indicator that it's going to be okay at the end.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And then we had the embryos frozen, and then we were setting up the embryo transfer.
Yeah, and I honestly feel like everything leading up to that, and like people talk about going on progesterone,
Yeah.
making them really like emotional and tired. And once the
Yeah.
transfer happened, I was tired, but that was because I was pregnant. And I think I kind of enjoyed milking that a little bit. I can say that now.
Yeah, why not?
She's
Right?
like, but and I also really appreciated that we went forward with a natural cycle.
Yes.
That just it felt natural because it was, but it was nice. And I know a lot of people really say that the progesterone and oil injections are really painful and uncomfortable. And I think it was so easy. Like
Yeah.
now that I'm looking back on it, like to take the progesterone in the way that
Yeah,
you.
so that's sort of course, all that in the background, but I'm a big proponent of natural cycle. And of course, you are the perfect candidate because, young, healthy, normal cycles.
Right.
So always my opinion was that, why mess with that?
Right.
Because typically when you do the prepare for the transfer, you use a lot of medication.
Hmm.
In fact, what you're doing, you turning off your cycle
Right.
and creating an artificial cycle.
Mhm.
And it's okay if it works, but I think there's a better way with less medication.
Right.
So I try, and we work a lot with surrogates who are basically again chosen because they're healthy and they're young and they're fertile. So that's sort of my, I'd say, first line to try. Only women who don't have normal cycles, or
Mhm.
usually we use the other options. So yeah, and I think of course for the patients, it's a lot easier.
Yeah. Yeah. It was really great.
Yeah, I think like the actual procedures were for both of us. I can speak to that were easier than I was expecting.
Yes.
I think like the hardest part was like more just like going to and from all the monitoring appointments and
Yeah.
like waiting, like the waiting, like we were really excited, but the actual procedures themselves were really
And going in for
Easy.
blood work because I think I had to go
yeah.
in
We went in for
once
lots
a
of
week.
blood work and ultrasounds and stuff.
Right.
It was more like the time and like
Yeah.
making it, doing all of that.
I know. I think people who have not undergone IVF, when they ask about the transfer specifically, they're like, "Was it painful? Like, what was it like?" And I'm like, "I barely even knew it was happening." Like, it's pretty, and that's like really amazing when you think about it. So.
Well, I agree. I think it's a little, it's for a lot of people, it's a little anticlimactic, right?
You're like, okay,
There's
cool.
such a buildup for this. You have to have the eggs retrieved and all the things that lead to it, and you prepare, and then you come in and it's like 5 minutes and it's done.
Yeah.
I also remember your embryologist
Oh.
was so sweet because I was standing there watching and she brought out the embryo and then afterwards had to check to make sure that it was out and was like, it was out, and was like so excited.
Looking in the window.
And the whole time it was happening, I think she might be a little more vertically challenged. So just out of the corner of the window, I just see like her watching, like just so happy, and that like just seeing like how much pride she took in what she was doing as well was really
And that's
nice.
it's a good point because as you can imagine that this is a sort of a complex process,
Mhm.
right? I mean, there's so many moving parts.
Right.
We try to make it, obviously as simple as we can, but there's so many people that are involved
Right.
in each and every case. From the very, just think of the people you've been interacting with from the
Right.
first time you called until we called you with the pregnancy test, right?
Right.
So it's a lot of people that, and it's the team really that makes it happen.
Absolutely.
So tell us about the pregnancy test phone call.
Oh my gosh, that was awesome. So we had gone that morning and it was also really nice. Like I think the 2 week wait for us was a little bit easier than we had anticipated. Like wasn't easy, but it also we had like our last week of school at that point where we were like both teaching. So it was easy for us to be like a little bit distracted. But it was exciting that we like had this to kind of look forward to when other people just like can test. It's like different. And I actually had seen
Erica was checking like compulsively.
so we had like gone to LabCorp and I had like a login, so I kept checking to see if the results were in. So I'd actually seen the HCG level before.
Oh, you already knew.
I already knew it. I came like running down the stairs, and I kind of regret doing that because then we didn't find out together. Like I technically found out first, so I'm not going to do that next time. But yeah, it's really beautiful. Britt actually got part of the phone call on video, and so obviously, like it was a surprise, but it was like half a surprise.
Nice to hear it.
Yeah,
and, like that's what we had been waiting for. It was really nice.
There's really nothing like that. And then like sharing it with our families.
Yeah, we went over, like my parents are like 10 minutes away, so we drove over and we're playing music and
yeah, it was really exciting.
Yeah. And we even made a cake and wrote like I think it was like 2,400 and something HCG, so we just put it in there with icing.
Yeah, because we like really didn't hold back telling people because we thought that it's like
doing it.
What'd you say?
About you didn't hold back telling people about doing it in the
process. And like they knew like the day that it was happening. So like like people at our workplaces, like our close family, like lots of friends.
We couldn't just like mysteriously disappear to Connecticut for a week.
That too. And I think it was like we felt really comfortable with people just rallying and like giving their positivity and also leaning on them for support if it was not successful the first time. So it was really exciting that like people knew that hopefully it was happening, but then it was like confirmed to be true. So.
And you're absolutely right that I think the other thing that's really, really important, people don't sort of don't understand that until it's happening, that you have to have good support.
Right, absolutely.
A good support system.
For sure.
Friends, family, whatever, each other, obviously, but it's something that you do together, and it's something that you need, someone to fall back onto, especially if, we were lucky and it worked and everything worked out, but if it doesn't work, it's,
Exactly. Yeah.
So what else can I ask you? So tell me, what is like, what part of the process, you didn't expect when you were thinking about it before, or what came as a little bit of a surprise?
I think maybe the frequency of doctor's visits. Like I think I knew that was going to happen, but it felt like I was like, and thankfully we timed our transfer really great that I was like on summer break when I needed to get most of my lab work done, but I felt like I was just like there all the time. Yeah. And so it was like, yeah, I think that was, but I mean, it's obviously worth it, but I think it was like a little bit more than I was anticipating.
Yeah, I think also like as people that are prospective parents are planning it, just like knowing when the costs are coming and what they're going to look like, because I feel like, I think that's like any doctor's thing. I mean, we were in it to win it, right? But just not knowing like what our final, we just kept a spreadsheet the whole time, and so like for the next time we'll have like a better idea of what that's going to be. But I think that might also be variable on a lot of different factors, but it wasn't like we were surprised by it, like we knew what it might be, but I think that was something that we were uncertain of, but
Yeah, and actually have kept that to for other friends that we have that might be considering going through that process, because again, there was like very little information out there about, you
Yeah.
know, just the logistics of particularly how we chose to create our family.
yeah. So
And I know there's, and you're right, that there's ignorance, not just among the general public, but also among the doctors.
Yeah.
That you go in and people, I mean, definitely like OBGYNs don't really know about it or think about it. And even fertility clinics, fertility doctors often don't recognize that as an option, a good option.
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of the next time,
Mm.
what do you think?
We're hoping at least one more, if not two. So we'll see. We'll see.
We'll see how insane we
After
are.
the second.
Yeah, we'll see how insane we are
Yeah.
after having two.
One at a
So,
time.
like-
Yes, one at a time.
Especially now that we've flown with her, which she was like really great, but I'm like, oh my God. And then I just like, you're looking on the plane and I'm like, we could take up a whole row. Like, so
Well, I mean, it's always, listen, I think this time with her is irreplaceable. And it's gone before you know it.
Yeah, I think, I mean, we have to wait our OB just given our, like her birth, and we had a cesarean section. So recovery and
Right.
such, like she said, to wait at least a year. It probably won't be too much longer after that, just because we like the idea of having our kids closer in age. And honestly, like we love her so much and we're so excited to have another one to love, and for her to love and love each other. So it's something we're already really excited about. So we'll probably be on the sooner end.
every time I meet parents, I'm like, do you like the age gap that you have? Tell me about how it is.
So yeah. Hopefully.
Anything else you think be important for people to know?
I think we just emphasize again, like doing what you can to feel happy and positive. And I know that's easy to say, especially since we, didn't have to go through, some people that might come to you, like a fertility clinic, might have already experienced a lot of things that would cause them to have trepidation. So like, it's easy for me to say, but like, I do truly believe that how relaxed we felt and that contributed to it. And I think honestly, Brinley, our daughter, is a very like calm and relaxed baby, and I think we've just kind of kept that ball rolling, and then she like feeds off of that, and I think she's just a great like process overall, and it's still kind of rolling because she's just very calm, and I think that helped us.
Obviously. Yeah, it's hard to there's a huge impact on how you are and how you act with her, on how she becomes.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think just trusting you all as a clinic, you as a doctor, made it easy for us to do that. I think we just fully placed our trust into everything you guys were telling us, and it took a lot of the onus off of us and put it onto you, and it allowed us just really to kind of go through the process and focus on how we felt about finally getting to have our own child and welcoming her instead of stressing about all of the details.
Cool. Great.